Well, now, my top 20 albums of the year 2024. It's what every cool kid has been waiting for all year. Like I say, every year it just sneaks up. I get asked to do it for Deaf Forever, German magazine, sometime in November, and you haven't really taken stock of the year yet. A lot of things, and I've spoken about this on the podcast so many times before. It's like sometimes trying to hold back the tide, the amount of music that's out there, the amount of releases that are happening. It's just never ending. It's constant. It's also to do with age and how long you're involved in the scene and the fact that you just never seem to quite find the time to devote to everything that you once were able to, when you used to be able to somehow fix terms of boredom with opening the vinyl and checking out the lyrics and sitting there for hours reading the inlay, and you never quite seem to get the time to do that anymore. It's just the way of the modern world. So every year I kind of scrabble around, and there's a couple of albums that hit home quite hard that I end up listening to almost like I did back in the day. Almost. But never quite. Never quite. It's all looking a bit black metal in here because the top 20 is pretty black metal. As has been the norm, really, since I've been doing these top 20s. Very little stuff with any joy or optimism pokes through. But there's a few little rays of optimism and light in there, but not many. Also, not many records that weren't metal in my top 20. For whatever reason, usually there's a couple of records like Lieback before, I think last year, or David Eugene Edwards that get through. Or Depeche Mode or something. This year, for whatever reason, little crossed. There's very little I came across that made any impact with me. By and large, it's been grim, violent, aggressive stuff. So we'll start first and go backwards. Or first and go forwards, I suppose. Because I know that a lot of people don't get to the end of these videos. So, oh ye of little attention span. I might model a different hat as we go through. Don't be alarmed. They don't represent any political opinion. I just quite like hats. But let's start at the start. It's very much like a football table. It's very congested, my top 20, in that, right... We also have to say that there's a Revenge album sitting there, which I haven't heard yet. There's a Satanic... War Master album that came out today, which I haven't listened to, and I thought it would be disingenuous to just place it in the top 20 because I like their music. So I haven't devoted any time to that. So just to say that, but it's a very congested kind of season where there hasn't really been that many things that just like, there isn't one or two records that just absolutely are top of the league, so to say. However, what I've put, and the top two, it's very, very close. The top two is very, very close. My first record of the year is Departure Chandelier. I don't know fuck all about them. I like the artwork. I think they're from Canada, right? Quebecois, maybe. Apologies if not. I try, and these days, to be as sort of detached from trying to find out every detail for every band anymore. I just think it's a sort of hiding to nothing. I didn't want to know what bands I liked in 1989 did, and I still don't want to know. So I'm just about know where they're from. I'm pretty sure they're Canadian. Departure Chandelier. It's very, very primitive. It's called Satan's Soldier something or other, and it's about Napoleon Bonaparte. And so it's also got the historical angle, which I find quite interesting. It's very gritty, very grim. It sounds almost like Gehenna from Norway's first demo, or Strid, or it's kind of keyboard driven. I'm not keyboard driven. That's hard to, because then you're going to think of Dimmu Borgir or something like this. It's not like that at all. Very gritty, very sort of nasty sounding early 90s black metal with a very harsh voice. It's my, I guess like we could call it Tide album of the year. And I think they're playing at Hell's Heroes, which Primordial is also playing. So I'm very curious to see what they are like live. I suppose, like most bands now, there's going to have to be some costumery, perhaps so. In honor of this, I'll put on my first hat of this top 20. This is Irish Black Badges, First World War, or well, Rising hat, the time of the First World War or so. Anyway, so Departure Chandelier is first. And Satan's Soldiers, yeah. Second, sort of tied. Ulcerate, Cutting the Throat of God. I'm going to take this off because it might make me just look utterly ridiculous and risible and memeable. Let's leave that there for the side. Ulcerate, Cutting the Throne of God, from New Zealand, if I'm not incorrect, have been sort of on my radar for quite a while. I really enjoyed this new record. It's dark stuff. It's sort of like mid-tempo Deathspell Omega without the absolute chaos and relenting chaos that sometimes only Deathspell Omega can give. I'm sure the band are a bit sick of that comparison, but it's a really good, really accomplished record. It's a very big sounding record. It looks great as well. I haven't seen them live yet, and hopefully I can correct that at some stage. But it's got that dissonant, dark, picky style that I'm just a real sucker for. It's not quite, as I said, into the Gorguts Deathspell territory, but certainly it's on its way there. It's a little bit more melodic, has more melodic sensibilities than that. I think I'll leave the hat motif alone for the moment, because it's, I'm a man of limited intelligence with a decreasing amount of brain cells, and trying to concentrate and doing two different things at the same time can be quite difficult. So third is SV or M. They're in almost like my every top 20 of every year. Sverum. It's Ukrainian black metal. It's, again, just the stuff I'm a real sucker for. It's just quite simplistic, very lo-fi, those kind of picked higher harmony black metal kind of stuff. What can I say? It's very interesting to see that they've risen from about 400 monthly listeners on Spotify to now 30,000. And that seems to be the way to do it, to approach these things in the modern age. I've said it before on the podcast main, that unfortunately it seems if you want to build an audience, doing it with albums is just doesn't work anymore. And that's a kind of sad truth that doesn't give me any pleasure to say, considering how our lives are defined by the album, or modern musical history is defined by the albums that resonate with us over all the years. The way to build your audience, unfortunately, Spotify has channeled it into this algorithmic nightmare where you have to kind of constantly be putting something out there every 4, 5, 6 weeks. And this is what this band SV or M do. Every time I look, there's a new release, or every few months, and you can see that their audience has just risen and risen and risen. I'm a sucker for it. I can't help I was always into this style of black metal. Fourth is Concrete Winds, the self-titled album. This is a whirlwind of a record. It's about time this band are getting some attention. It reminds me a bit of Angel Corpse Goats to Azazel demo, something like that, mixed with, I suppose, a sort of, I'm not going to say discharge or something, but it's much more extreme than that. I suppose a sort of punk kind of fury to it, although I'm not sure what punk exactly it would be. And maybe it's power violence. I don't really know what that is. Probably shouldn't have said it, I suppose. But Concrete Winds, formed out of the ashes of the band Vorum. Current Mouth, which is a brilliant, brilliant EP. One of the last. Saw them here, and they were, incredible. But Concrete Winds is my fourth choice. Fifth, and you'll notice my top 20 here is a little bit different to Death Forever, because Death Forever was sort of like making the outline, and then I did a bit of colouring in the in-between period between then and now, which is a couple of weeks, where I tried to listen to some of the records that maybe I hadn't given enough attention to, a bit more attention. And lo and behold, they rose and fell in my top 20. So fifth is Bythos. This is Chthonic Gates Unveiled, I think. And this is the sort of ancestor, no, not the ancestor, the progeny of, is that the right word? They would love that if I explain it like that. It's got Catatonia Brave Murder Day vibes. It's got Dissection Somberlane vibes. It's kind of very purist, kind of early to mid 90s, super melodic, very dark, sort of black doom, I suppose you would call it. Very accomplished musicianship, very accomplished guitar playing. And their previous album as well, The Tomb of Zero, I think it was called, again, was, I think, probably in my top 10 as well. I'm a sucker for this kind of stuff, I'm a sucker for this kind of stuff. Well, that might as well be the tagline, right? I'm just a sucker, yeah. Anyway, so Bythos is my fifth. It's a great record, really great record, and I can see them getting a little bit more attention, a little bit more, which they thoroughly deserve. Back in the day, this would have been a big record. I could have seen this on Avant-Garde Records, selling, 25,000 physical copies back in 94, 95. I could have seen them on tour with, in the woods or something, or you could see where their audience lay. And now this kind of style, although coming back, doesn't seem to be a particularly trendy style, doesn't seem to be a particularly popular sort of underground style. What is anymore? I don't know. Sixth is Blood Incantation, Absolute Elsewhere, which is sort of like, prog death metal. I suppose it's Morbid Angel meets Van de Graaff Generator and Can. Tangerine Dream. It's, they made an amazing video as well. It's got just a kind of other scope to it, which is really, really interesting. And I think they've just done it in such a good way. It probably could be higher in my list. I think originally maybe it was fifth. It could be fourth. All of these things it's so marginal, these differences between these albums, mostly in the especially in this top six. It could have been, you could have swap them all around. Lovely guys, killer live. Blood Incantation. It's one of those records that old death metal guys that I know have linked it to me. People I haven't spoken to in years going, fucking hell, have you heard this new band, Blood Incantation or Gatecreeper or whatever? And they all linked to me. I go, yeah, I know them. And they're like, fucking hell, it's like Nocturnus the Key, and it's getting them fired up. It's getting the 50-year-old death metal guys fired up about death metal again, which is a really interesting, place for them to be. And yeah, they deserve all of their success. Now, 7 is a record by a band I really like. They're, I think, from New York, called Poison Ruin. It kind of sounds like oi punk, late 70s, early 80s, oi punk, new wave mixed with a hint of black metal or a hint of something. I think the new album is called Confair. I've mainly been listening to this one on Bandcamp and online, but because I haven't got the vinyl yet. Their last album, Ruin, was a kind of a big hit with the killer artwork, and an awful lot of people, even who've just been who've seen it lying around here and have been, might have been here, and I've been playing some records, have been like, fucking hell, look at this. It immediately draws your eye and attracts attention. So they have a very defined aesthetic, which I think is part of their initial attraction. But then you find out, like, oh, this is pretty good. It's kind of it's got some good foot stomping, old kind of punk vibes, sort of oi sort of 1980-81 vibes. Interesting, very cool. 8 is Grand Magus, Sun Raven. In my Deaf Forever top 20, this was lower, but I listened to it a lot in the last couple of weeks, and I'm a sucker for anything JB sings. I'm super jealous of his pipes. You heard me, JB. He's a brilliant singer. It's just great Dio Manowar driven heavy metal. And JB could sing the phone book and he'd have an audience. It's just, it does exactly what it says on the tin. I kind of feel that there's parallels between maybe the Grand Magus and Primordial, in that we're around the same kind of amount of time, 9 or 10 albums in, you're sort of, consolidating your audience, and you do the things that you do, and the people that love the band, they like the band. Is it going to make us, world dominators? Probably not. But anyway, Sun Raven, Grand Magus. It's got a bit of sort of foot stomping positivity to it. And that's my number 8. Number 9, and I'm again a bit unsure about this. The next 3, 4, 5, 6 albums could all be mixed up again. And that's Hauntologist, and that's the Polish guys. It's some of the guys from Mugwa. And it's sort of like a little bit more shoegaze, indie side to Mugwa, you know. I suppose it's maybe like black metal similarities to Alcest. Again, Alcest, whom I love dearly, don't make the top 20. I've tried to sit down with their new album and I just haven't managed to penetrate it. Now you might ask me, hey, next April, would that Alcest album be in your top 20? And I go, yeah, it should have been in there at like 9 or 14 or 15. But for whatever reason, it's just the way things go sometimes. You just, you've got something, I've got vinyl sitting here looking at me going, hey, you need to play this, dickhead. And for whatever reason, it's on the long finger, as we say in English. It's you're procrastinating or you're just being an idiot, which, you know, or all three. So Hauntologist is 9. Number 10, The Return of the Mighty Adorier. I know Mel and, Chris, old Chris, since like 94 or something. We met first time in London when Primordial played with Psy. And we've been, you know, good and steady friends and comrades ever since. And so to see the Mighty Adorier return in such rude health is amazing. And this is Bleed on My Teeth. And this is a brutal record produced by the very venerable Greg from Esoteric. This is a violent, brutal record. And Mel puts it all on the line with the vocals. Brutal, brutal stuff. Again, it could have been 9th. It could have been 8th. It could have been 7th. I totally recommend this. This is a really violent record. Great stuff. Number 10. Oh no, 10 is Adorier. And number 11, just outside the top 10, is The New Inquisition. Regardless of what you might think about them, not really interested. I'm just really interested in the music. I really loved the previous album, Mass Grave for a Mass something or other. I thought that was brilliant. Amazing riffs and stuff. This one is a bit more lo-fi. The production is a bit more fuzzy and creaky. I'm not sure that it really resonates the same way with me, but it's called Veneration of something mystical or other, I suppose. I'm a fan, and it sits at number 11 in my top 20. Number 12 is the band Freeways, Dark Sky Sanctuary. Again, these could have been been swapped around a bit. I love Freeways. I heard their demo and I just really, at a time when I was, I think, feeling a bit gloomy, and I thought this cheers me up a bit. It reminds me of the Mighty Status Quo. It's like a sort of modern lo-fi, better version of April Wine, who like to rock. They don't love to rock. They like it. You know, like it's something they would do of an evening. They might not look forward to it that much, but once it comes around, they're quite liking it. And Freeways is a bit like that. It's not an incredibly mentally taxing listen to. You're not going to be feeling mentally exhausted like after a Death Spell Omega record with Freeways. It's boogie barroom rock, and I really look forward to seeing them in some bar and doing a bit of boogieing. And that's what it is. It's like Quo. It's like late 70s, early 80s stuff. It's got some lovely Lizzie harmonies here and there, and a very understated vocal approach, which reminds me of the Mighty Phil in it, in that it's got some interesting, sort of schematics with the rhyming, and it's sort of moving against the sort of traditional heavy metal way of singing. It's not all full pelt. So yeah, Freeways, Canadian. 13 is The Cure. I'd like to see that tour. Freeways supporting The Cure. Be nice, wouldn't it? Songs of a Lost World. This could be higher. I listened to it about 3 or 4 times the first day that I got it. I really enjoyed it. It's a big return to form for The Cure, and a return to somewhere dark for The Cure. Although I find the tones and the sounds, because The Cure is so indelibly linked or indelibly stamped on your teenage subconscious in a way that none of the bands on this list are. None of the bands on this list are, you'll notice, bands from the 80s who are making a return album. They're mostly newer bands. The Cure is something that I've been hearing and listening to since 1988, 87. And so, therefore, they've a lot to compete with. And so, I was exchanging messages with some old friends of mine who were like 80s Cure and goth fans, and they were like, don't like the bass tone, why is the keyboard so loud, where's the guitar, where's the... and because it's the Cure, sometimes it gets held to a slightly different sonic standard, which is maybe unfair, because in the grand scheme of things, a new Cure record is, you know... And now that I think of it off the top of my head, I've just realised that I've forgotten the new Nick Cave album. Oh well, maybe I should start again. Well, let's put them both in here. The new Nick Cave album is... what am I going to do here? Am I going to shoehorn Nick Cave into the top 20 because I just thought about it? Well, I'll just talk about it. And The Cure. Because they're the two things in the top 20. Well, they are a new entry. Well, let's make it a top 21. And because they are the two things in it that aren't metal. And also seeing Nick Cave this year was a pretty revelatory experience. He's added a new kind of religious dimension to the music, which is really interesting. It's kind of moving the music along. I suppose this is something that is the is downstream of great tragedy. And a couple of people were sharing some rather ridiculous things online about the privilege of Nick Cave telling us not to be into politics or something. It's like, yes, the privilege of Nick Cave having lost both your sons. Anyway, I digress. But The Cure and Nick Cave, all right. So that would make I'm on the hoof here now. That would make my next choice Black Curse. Black Curse is a band I've been hearing the name of for ages. What the fuck is the album called? Burning in Celestial Poison, I think, or is it Prison? Poison, Prison. Either works. This is ferocious stuff. This is really violent, really extreme kind of stuff. I listen to a lot of things like this. Just really pummeling, punishing stuff that you have to really kind of grip hard in the kind of storm of everything that's coming at you to sort of not be washed out to sea with it. A lot of my older friends in bands and kind of stuff, they kind of mellow a lot as they get older. I find myself listening to more and more brutal stuff. And Black Curse, I think they're from New York, maybe? Are they? Sorry if not. It's a great record anyway. After this, is it 15th or 16th? Let's say 16th. Is Solstafir, the new Solstafir album. Hen Helga Kvol. Give me something in English, Addy. Give me something in English. Yeah, I wasn't a big fan of the previous Solstafir record, but this one is a big return to form. It has a great, I really like the drum sound. I really like the tone of the whole thing. And it has a kind of quite desperate, dark feel to it. And if you've never been to Iceland, you don't really get it until you go to Iceland. And you're like, oh, okay, now I get why Solstafir sounds like this. And so, the new Solstafir is really good. Number 16 to 17, Abhorration. This is released on my friend Dara from Invictus's record label. This is a completely random thing. Abhorration sounds like somewhere between Abominations of Desolations 86 and Altars of Madness, with a bit of Incubus and Nocturnus demo style. It's pretty harsh Altars of Madness, pre-Altars of Madness worship, Thy Kingdom Come demo. But it's just really great. Really hits the spot. Really killer tone. I wouldn't mind seeing them tear it up in a small little place or something. No, I don't really know much about them. I just know it was on Invictus, and it's a fucking good record. Abhorration. That would make the next one Hamford. Hamford from the Faroe Islands. Good people, great singer. One of the best. Their gig at Vaken a couple of years ago was one of the best gigs I saw that year. They were all wearing all the suits and stuff. Guys, bring the suits back. I much preferred this. But this is a great record. This is a slow moving, unfolding kind of like, it's not sort of doom death. It's a style that deserves a revisit by all places in the underground that never really got its resurgence or recompense or reevaluation or all those kind of things, whether it's Old My Dying Bride or Anathema or Paradise Lost or whatever. All of that stuff deserves a revisit if you have the patience. And that's, I think, one of the things that is lacking from most of the modern scene. So Humford, so that would make 18, 19. Oh, come on, Nick. Broken my heart here, Nick. Winterfelleth, The Imperious Horizon. Yes, I know I sing a song on it. Okay, but I like Winterfelleth anyway. Strong record, beautiful looking record. It's just got some great riffs and moments in it, in that sort of early to mid 90s black metal style, the old black metal sort of style, you know, kind of wall of guitars. You're right, you know, at the cliff head with the waves and the, you know, the wind rushing past you. It's that kind of record, and it just has a sense of Englishness, you know, that I can get behind. Yep, take that how you will. Yeah, I like it. Number 1920 is Duel, the state of the sound of fluidity. This record probably could be and should be higher, because I was a big Duel fan. I am a big Duel fan, and you know, I see them as a sort of something of the spiritual heirs to bands like The Devil's Blood, of course, and so you know, it has a kind of special place in my heart. It could be I just haven't devoted the attention, time and space to the record properly, and if I did, I'm pretty sure it would climb up this chart, but I can't leave it out of the chart, which would make the band who dropped out of the chart Horn, Duidesvark, a much more black metal record, much less clean singing, much less medieval sounding German, kind of like medieval black metal. I guess this would make them 21. Okay, let's make it a top 21. Why not? And that would place them in 20th place. Did you miss out on any of the hats? We can wear this one in honor of... Well, actually, that looks pretty good. I should have worn this for the whole thing. No, it's not in honor of Cannon Fiber. And by the way, this does come off. There you go, huh? Maybe I should do a top 20 hats. This probably would get more views than top 20 records. Well, my friends, that's my top 21 albums of the year 2024. And I know that it'll feel like about 3 months, and then someone will come asking me for my next top 20, and I'll be equally as all over the place and disorganized. Anyway. Okay. I'm Alan Averill. This is Agitators Anonymous, and that is my top 20 albums of the year. I'm sure there's more I've forgotten. I'm sure there's things that should be in there that isn't. Man, maybe next time, leave it in the comments. Do you want to see my top 20 hats? Over and out.